If you're frustrated, that's a good thing. That means you're not complacent. The opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is resignation and cynicalism and running away.
Joe, boom.
Boom. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. Look forward to getting to know you a little bit better. Look forward to you sharing your story.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Florida's beautiful.
It is.
It's so nice in Florida.
It is.
Compared to New York.
So you just got in a couple days ago?
Yeah, I got in a couple days ago. I wanted to visit my parents before the end of the year and for Thanksgiving, and because it was my 40th birthday, so I said, you know what better place to be than with my parents? You know, I celebrate with my kids, my wife, and then I decided I'm going to fly in on the same day, bless my parents, my sisters, my nephews and nieces, and so on. So it's beautiful.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Well, what we like to do here is take people back and a little bit about where you grew up, where you're from, and some hobbies you had.
Yeah, so I was raised and grazed in Brooklyn, New York. And growing up, I'm one of 6 kids. I'm the second, so I have an older sister. And for me, it was about just survival. My parents didn't really have any money. My mother was always working 16 hours a day, trying to make it, hustling. And as a teenager, I saw her working really, really hard, but not really getting a lot of progress in her store. I mean, she got us food, she gave us clothing, she paid for the schools. I didn't really go to camp or do a lot of the things. We never really had a computer at home. You know, what I saw a lot of other kids have, we didn't have. We always had a used car, you know, like a broken station wagon or something like that. And growing up with that, I always said to myself, when I get older, I want to be able to make it. I really want to be able to make it. I want to figure out how to make it. So even at very young, I would try to figure out, okay, how do I sell things? So I would sell mazes in school, and I would sell sandwiches, and I would try to do all different types of things. I would go to my mother's store and sell things for her in the store. Like she would have a rack. She had a clothing store on the Lower East Side, and she would put a rack outside on the street. And she's like, whatever you sell, you can keep the money. So I would cold stop people on the street that were walking by on Sunday in the street mall, and I would say, do you want to buy? Do you want to buy? Do you want to buy? It's a sale. And I would just basically do it. And I was a super shy person, but I wasn't as shy. I was much more shy with people that knew me than with strangers. So with strangers, I would just take a risk and then get rejected, but it'd be okay because they're strangers. They don't even know who I am. So that's kind of like where I got my start to try to kind of figure things out. Eventually, I saw her go out of business. 9/11, she went out of business. And, you know, I saw the pain in her eyes and the how much suffering she went through because literally, you know, you spend a decade trying to build a business and then you go out of business. It's super emotional. It's like your identity. It's who you are. I'm a failure, all that type of stuff. So I decided that I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to learn the skills that I need to learn because I didn't have any formal education. I didn't have any education in business or anything like that. Somebody asked me yesterday, what college did you go to? I was like, I don't go to college. I learned everything I learned everything by reading and stuff. And I remember one time I was 17 years old. I went to my mother and I started crying and I said, Ma, I don't want to suffer the way you suffered. I don't want to not have money the way you had money. And I didn't go to school. I need to figure out what to do. And she got really emotional because she couldn't afford to send me to school and I didn't have any money. So she's like, hop in the car. So we get into the car and she drives me to the Brooklyn Public Library. You know, back in the day, it was this thing that people did. My kids still go to the library today. It's very important for me to have them go. And she's like, she stops outside the library. She gets really emotional, and she said, go in there. Take out whatever books you want. It won't cost you anything. But you'll really be able to be successful if you can learn it yourself. And so I said, okay, whatever. I went in there. I got books on computers. I didn't even have a computer at the time, but I knew that computers were the answer. At least for me. Like, I know I was obsessed with technology. I love typewriters, and I loved, you know, cash registers, and I loved reverse engineering things and twiddling. My mother used to call me touchy touch because I love, you know, opening up everything and, you know, tearing everything apart. And so I went in there, and I learned how to use computers, and then I said, Ma, I think it's time for me to buy a computer. So we both chipped in. We bought, like, a compact computer. I remember my friend used to come to my house because we had a 33K modem, and he had a 14.4 modem. And I got the free AOL discs, and I figured it out. And I figured out the computer backwards and forwards, and before you know it, I was getting paid hundreds of dollars to fix people's computers. And I started an IT business, and I started buying stuff on Craigslist, like Apple computers, fixing them up and selling them on eBay. And I started doing graphic design for people, and I started doing building websites, and basically I taught myself how to do all that stuff. And for a good, I would say, 10 years, I made a very nice living as a freelancer with a bunch of part-time people, and I had a full-time job. So I had a full-time job, and I had 7 side hustles. And what I tell people is I worked extraordinarily hard. And one of the things that I tell people now that I teach entrepreneurs that want to get out of the grind and become financially free, what I teach them is that energy without strategy is often a waste of time. Because I spun my wheels for a long time. I learned a lot. I can't say I didn't learn. I learned a lot. But I would have got much further faster if I would have just applied maybe 20% of my time thinking things through instead of just, okay, let's open up another thing, and let's do another thing, and another thing, and another thing. Oh, this opportunity, this partner, that partner. I lacked focus. And what helped me be able to build one of the fastest growing companies in the U.S., Ajax Union, which is the company that I'm running right now. It's a B2B digital marketing agency. In 2012, we were number 178 on the Inc. 500. And the one thing that I would say that impacted me the most, that allowed me to be able to do this, when my partner sat me down when I wanted to go full-time and quit my job as a CMO, and he said, Joe, the only way I'm going to let you work in this business is if you get rid of your 7 side hustles. And I said, how can I do that? How can I get rid of them? Every single one makes me money. He's like, that's not the most important factor. I said, what's the most important factor? He's like, how much of your time do they take? Because if they take other people's time, that's fine. You can keep it. But if they take your time, you got to eliminate it, sell it, close it down, or roll it in. So I looked at each business, and every single business, lo and behold, took up all my time. I was the hub and the spoke. And I learned from that I need to focus on one business with one partner selling one product to one target market for 1 year in order for it to really be successful. You need a focus. Where focus goes, energy flows. And so I basically looked at every side hustle. The IT business, I sold to my lead IT guy. I had a sukkah building company. I sold it to a guy that does sukkah rentals, and he paid me off from the net profit over 3 years. The web design business I rolled in. So there were like different things that I basically just either got rid of or rolled in. And as a result of me focusing, I was able to build a significant business generating millions of dollars in revenue and really learning what it takes to really build a business, because it's an experience. Like an experience, like I would call it a spiritual experience to build a business. So that's kind of like my story, where I came from. And most of my growth, I would say the compounded growth in my life of awareness, of strategy, of accountability, of execution happened in the past 5 years.
Awesome. Focus is so important because so many people are going in 25 different directions and all multiple streams of income and all these things, but most successful people focused on one thing, and then once they kind of made it or established some type of income, then they diversified. So if you would touch on that.
Yeah, so for me, focusing on Ajax Union and really zeroing in, I wanted to service. I looked at the stats, and I saw that there were 34 million businesses in the United States, and I said I want to service all 34 million businesses, providing them with search engine optimization. By the time I got to 1,000 clients, and that's a big feat for an agency to get to 1,000 clients. By the time I got to 1,000 clients, I saw another stat that 96% of businesses are doing less than $1 million in revenue, and most businesses go out of business within 3 years. So I was picking up clients, I was helping them generate more income, but they were going out of business faster. Because if you have something that's dysfunctional, a dysfunctional business that doesn't have a proper bottom line, proper strategy, you're going to go out of business. The more revenue you make, the more at risk you are if you have a dysfunctional business. A lot of businesses can survive on debt at $200,000 in revenue. They could survive for many years on debt because they can borrow from a credit card, from here, from there, from cash advance, whatever. But if you're doing a few $1,000,000 in revenue and you're in red, you're not going to be able to make it very quickly. It's not going to happen. If you have no net profit, you have no cash flow, you have your CCCs way behind, it's not going to work. So what I realized was that, number one is I didn't want to service 34 million businesses because most of them are complete and total failures, and they're going to go out of business anyway. Not the people, not the failure. The business is not operating with integrity. It's not going to work. And then what I realized was that I also didn't want to have hundreds of employees. I had 75 full-time employees at the time, 3 locations. It was crazy, and I didn't enjoy it. And I didn't even have core values. Like I didn't know who I was. I was 265 pounds. And what I realized very quickly is that I need to figure out who I am and what I want. Forget about what other people think. Because I always thought if I had 100 employees and I had a $10 million business and I'd be an important person. But that's, if you're going after ego, your ego will never get satisfied. Right. So I had to figure myself out. I lost 95 pounds. I came up with my own core values. I decided what I want. I wanted a company where people can work from anywhere, like a lifestyle business, and I changed my whole business around. Now we have just under 24 clients, some publicly traded companies. We're a B2B agency. We build funnels for companies now. and we changed our whole business around. I changed my whole life around. Now I can come to Florida, spend a week here, chill out with my parents, come do these interviews, just have a good time, make an impact that I want to make. And last year I launched a new company because my business is such a great, well-oiled machine that now I can focus on starting a new company, which is a mission that I'm on to help 1,000 hungry entrepreneurs go from frustration to motivation. So the company's called Evergreen, Evyrgreen, and we created a LinkedIn course teaching people how to go from lurker to influencer. We launched a sales closing course called the Sales Cure. We have a course that teaches people how to do goal setting. I've done that course 3 years in a row through my personal brand. I'm rolling it into Evergreen because I'm focusing. And the lessons that I've learned growing Ajax Union is going to help me be able to accelerate Evergreen to be able to be a very, very significant company in a very short period of time. So whereas it took me several years to get to the $1 million mark with Ajax Union, with Evergreen, I'm going to be able to do it in several months.
Talk about some of the you mentioned your childhood and growing up with all the challenges that your family faced. Talk about some of the hardest struggles as an entrepreneur.
So there are 3 self-limiting beliefs that entrepreneurs typically have that I've discovered, and I'm going to be publishing a book next year called Average Joe to CEO, The 7 Stages, 7 Figures. And the first one is beliefs. So believe it or not, our beliefs are literally, our mindset is 80% of our results. If you want to have results, you got to look at your mindset and your beliefs. What do you believe? Because if you don't believe something to be true, or you believe something that's negative to be true, you're probably not going to take action. And action is what creates results, but your belief dictates your action. So there are 3 self-limiting beliefs that entrepreneurs have that I see are prevalent across, like, literally almost all entrepreneurs. The first one is luck. I always believe that certain people are lucky, and if you're lucky, you're going to make it. If you're fortunate, you're going to make it. And what I quickly learned is that luck is the opposite of strategy. So somebody recently said, oh, why don't you just go play the lottery? You'll become wealthy, and then you'll live a happily ever after. I was like, did you look at the statistics of people that win lotteries? 80% of people that win the lottery lose it within 3 years. And I also heard somebody else say that if you distribute all the current wealth from all the wealthiest people in the world to all the rest of the people, within a few years, all the wealthy people will have the money again. This is a reality of it. It's mindset. It's mostly mindset. 80% mindset, 20% skill set. So number one is understanding what luck is, and luck can be taken advantage of because when the opportunity comes, you have to be wearing those. You have to have the strategy in place in order for you to capitalize on the luck. It's kind of like saying, it's lucky that it rained today. It's only lucky that it rained today if you had the cups out to collect the rain. If you didn't have any cups or buckets out to collect the rain, who cares if it rained? The rain just left, and now you don't have water to drink, and you're stuck on your cruise boat with no water, right? You need to be able to collect it and have a strategy in place to collect the blessing that comes in. So that's number one, strategy versus luck. Number 2 is trust. And trust is a big word because most people are not going to trust you unless they have a guarantee, and if you have a guarantee, you don't need trust. You need trust. You need to be able to take a risk to the point where you're like, you know what, if I fail, at least I learned something. There is no losing in life. There's only winning or learning. So understanding how to trust, and most people are not willing to trust the government. They're not willing to trust employees. I remember my mother always said, never hire a sales rep. Never hire a sales rep. I said, why, Mom? Why should I hire a sales rep? If you hire a sales rep, they're going to learn your business, and they're going to take it over and take your business away from you. They're going to be better than you. What do you think the first thing I did with Ajax Union? I hired a sales rep, and I trusted them with my CRM, with my contacts, with my whatever. And that's one of the reasons that we blew up, because we had an amazing sales team. And I had to trust them. I had to trust my partner to go all in with him. I had to trust myself and my own intuition. And most people don't have self-confidence. The word confidence is trust. So that's a big issue for entrepreneurs, and a big issue that I suffered with, lack of self-confidence, lack of self-trust, until I figured out what that is. There's a book by Nathaniel Branden called the 6 steps to self-esteem or something, or the 6 elements of self-esteem. Very, very powerful book. And he's the father of self-esteem and teaches what self-esteem is. He's one of my top 40 books. I made a list of 40 books in 40 years. And it's one of my top books. It's so amazing because he really breaks down it's called the 6 pillars of self-esteem. Very, very good book. But the idea of trust. And then the third part is change. Most people, I speak to so many entrepreneurs that were once successful that are no longer successful. And I say, what happened? They're like, well, if only SEO still worked, or if only Amazon didn't take over our brand and whatever. I was like, dude, and they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm like, dude, but you are broke. Fix it. And that's basically the idea. So those are the big elements that stopped me and made me suffer tremendously back in the day, pain without purpose is suffering. So I didn't have that purpose. I didn't understand how to get past it, and I was kind of like stuck there, stuck in luck, or stuck in not trusting people, not trusting myself, or stuck in not wanting to change. And as a result, it impacts us significantly, and our beliefs literally control our life.
Absolutely. So you mentioned some things you've already accomplished. What's maybe some that you probably already have accomplished, because you've already mentioned some great things. What's some things you're most proud of?
I'm most proud of my 5 children. My purpose in life, when I started out, I was like, I want to have kids, and I want to be able to teach them how to go from 0 to becoming self-sufficient and be able to take 100% responsibility, not just in business. I'm talking about in life. A lot of people out there, they become wealthy, and then they're just dysfunctional. They have a more dysfunctional life. They don't speak to their parents. They don't speak to their kids. They're not taking care of their own health or whatever it is. And what I found for myself is my biggest accomplishment is being able to have my children, be able to spend loving time with them, and be able to educate them and nurture them and show them by example what does it mean to go from frustration to motivation. Show them by example what does it mean to build something, to build a life, to be able to literally just be happy in the face of adversity. Like, certain things happen, circumstances will happen to everybody, whether it's the loss of a child, whether it's somebody taking advantage of you, abusing you, whatever it is. People have issues in their life, and if you allow your issues, your circumstances to dictate your life, you're not going to be able to live an empowered, free life. You're not going to be able to have vitality. You're going to survive, because we as human beings, we're wired to survive. But to have an empowered life, to live the life that I live, where I can give, I can work, I can love. One of the goals that I set early on was, I think it was 5 years ago, but early on, is I want to retire early. 5 years ago, I sat with my mastermind of entrepreneurs, and they said, what do you want to do in the next 5 years? And I said, I want to retire when I'm 40. And I could safely say that I retired. I declared retirement. Does that mean I'm going to stop working? Hell no, I'm not going to stop working. But I'm going to do the things that I want to do. I'm going to do the things that I love right now. And this is one of the things that I love, being able to share with others and help more entrepreneurs be able to take their life to the next level.
Well, something you accomplished was retiring at 40. What other goals do you have going forward?
So right now, I want to be able to make an impact. I want to be able to help 1,000 hungry entrepreneurs be able to build their business from 0 to 5 million in revenue. So this is what I'm doing moving forward with this new company called Evergreen. We are teaching people how to be able to prospect, how to be able to close sales, how to be able to get their needs met, how to be able to set goals that they can actually achieve. So we have some really, really exciting programs coming out. We're going to teach people how to use assistants, how to find assistants. Could you imagine? I was a CEO that had a dysfunctional relationship with my assistant, that had lack of integrity in terms of me just giving them work without delegating properly and all this stuff, and it really throws you off. So what I want to teach people is how to do it properly.
So let's talk about some people that have helped you become who you are.
So the people in my life, so I could say that for me, if I didn't have the people in my life that have helped me be able to get to where I am, I would never be where I am. Like, we all look around us and it's like, it's really the people in our life. It's really, really the people. So first of all, my mother, her motivation, my father, his patience and his ability to be able to teach and for me to learn from him. And then just kind of the mentors, right? So you think about the books that I've read. I can say by far the most value that I got from anything in life is 3 things. Number 1, the books that I've read. Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar. It's just, there's so many amazing, Dale Carnegie, Napoleon Hill. There's an incredible amount of people that I've learned so much from reading their books, and I feel like they've given their entire life to their book, their life experience, and they share that with me, and I get to learn from them. Those people are incredible. They're real. The second set of people that have shared with me tremendously and changed my life is my coaches. So for everything that I do, I used to say that I'm the smartest person. If you're a coach, you obviously don't know how to run a business, because if you know how to run a business, you'd go make money, because that's what's important, right? But what I realized is a lot of people coach because they enjoy coaching and because they want to make an impact for people. And when I got my ego in check and I started realizing, you know what, I'm not the smartest person around, let me take a step back and learn what these people have to say, I started hiring all types of coaches, whether it's a personal brand coach, whether it's a health and fitness coach, whether it was a relationship coach. I even have a rap coach that teaches me how to rap, how to bust a rhyme. And the crazy thing was that each one of these coaches helped me be able to see something that I couldn't see myself. We all, as human beings, have something called blind spots. We literally, physically have blind spots. I mean, if you cover one eye and you open up the other and then you move your hand here, eventually your hand will disappear. And what ends up happening is our brain makes up for the blind spots, creating a reality that doesn't really exist. And those coaches help me be able to by asking me questions in a Socratic way, be able to help me discover things that I have epiphanies that I've never been able to have outside of that. So the awareness that I got from that. And then the third thing was the courses that I've taken and the seminars that I've gone to. I've been part of Vistage, Entrepreneurs Organization, the Inc. Business Owners Council, and a slew of other organizations that whenever I go to a seminar, whenever I take a course and I go deep into the course, those things and those human beings that have created those programs, seminars, and courses that I've gone to have by far impacted me. You know, the books, the coaches, and the seminars. I mean, those are, and I could literally rattle off dozens and dozens of human beings that have changed my life for the better and forever. I wouldn't say that there's one person. If I would have to point to one person, my motivation would be my mother, because I watched her suffer so much, and I watched all her self-limiting beliefs that she had, and I had to kind of reverse engineer that. But I would say that so many people in so many different areas. I feel like when the student is ready, the teacher just shows up, and every single time I was ready to hear about what trauma means and about how to really build a relationship and about how to, impact yourself in terms of net profit in your business or really change things up. Like, I feel like it came to me when I was ready. And so I'm committed to being more instead of doing more. Of course, I'm going to do a lot, and I'm always going to be doing, but being a human doing is not the same as being a human being.
Love it. Also love when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yes, that's exactly it. Yeah.
One of my favorites. So obviously, you've been tremendously successful. People look up to you. What's it like to have that feeling?
It feels humbling. It feels inspiring for me. I am very proud of it. I am no question about it. Some people will be like, oh, I don't accept it and run away from it. I used to be that way. Now I totally accept it. I acknowledge it, and I honor that. It's an honor. It's really an honor to be able to have accomplished the things that I've accomplished and do the things that I've did and have those experiences and then to be able to share it with the world. It's a real honor, and it does take courage because sometimes fear crops up. People have their opinions, and, as you saw, we go live and everyone's with their opinions and so on. Why is a woman sitting in between two men, and why like everyone with their comments, But at the end of the day, I have to remember that other people's opinions are none of my business, and I have to repeat that often. And a lot of the things that I teach and that I share have to do with things that I need reminders of. So even just gratitude, saying something as simple as gratitude. Everyone hears be grateful, be grateful, be grateful, but are we really grateful? Do we have a ritual in our business? We have a huddle every single Monday, a priorities huddle, where we get around, and we do this virtually. It gets recorded, and all our team members from all over the world join in our huddle. And one of the segments of our huddle, besides having an inspiration minute, besides having an employee spotlight, and besides having a humble brag, we also have a gratitude moment where every single person has the ability to share. And that takes up most of the call, believe it or not. But that ritual is so powerful, and it creates such intimacy between our team and connection and trust that allows us to be able to execute the rest of the week much more powerfully. The one thing that people want more than food, and people want food badly, is appreciation. And think about Thanksgiving and why it's such an important holiday. It's such an important holiday in America, and people cherish Thanksgiving more than they cherish any other religious ceremony, religious holiday. It's like Thanksgiving, you take Friday off, no question. And the reason they do that is because people crave that appreciation. And when they get that appreciation, I'm sending 1,000 people an appreciation message on LinkedIn. And as I was doing a seminar today, I was doing a virtual webinar just educating people on how to get their profile updated on LinkedIn for 2020. I pulled up my LinkedIn profile, clicked on my messaging, and I showed in real time as the messages are being sent out on my behalf. Because it takes actually 20 hours to send 1,000 messages. So someone's physically sitting at a desk for 20 hours creating a custom message for every single person based on my relationship with them, a piece of gratitude. Think about that.
That's great. That's awesome. So what last words do you have for us?
My last word is that if you're frustrated, if you're having a breakdown, if you're feeling low energy, if you don't have what you want, it's a good sign. And you might say, how could it be it's a good sign if I'm frustrated? How could you say it's a good sign if I'm anxious? How could you say it's a good sign if I'm feeling pain? I'm suffering. I say pain doesn't have to equal suffering. Pain doesn't have to equal suffering. If you have purpose, if you do a push-up, if you just have meaningless pain, yeah, it's suffering. But if you have purpose in your life, if you tap into that purpose, I don't care what pain you're going to go through, you can tolerate more than you think you can tolerate. You can do some pretty amazing things in your life. So I say it's a good sign because everything is a sign in life. FITTEAM is a sign. The FITTEAM show, the fact that we're connected, the fact that we met at LinkedIn Global, the fact that you messaged me and said, Joe, come down to West Palm Beach, and we connected. You never know what that's going to turn into, but it's a sign. And I believe that everything is a good sign because I get to choose what's good and what's bad in my life. And so if I get to choose, it's a good sign. What am I making it mean? Automatically, we're going to make things mean automatically things. So what are you making it mean? So one last word that I have for everybody is that your pain has meaning to it. If you create the right meaning for it, it can elevate you and it can take you to new heights. If you're frustrated, that's a good thing. That means you're not complacent. The opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is resignation and cynicalism and running away. And what you need to do is love more, is create more, is be more free, is be more self-expressed, is be more powerful. And if you can do that, you're going to have the ultimate vitality. And instead of surviving, you're going to thrive.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for coming on, Joe. Great
Boom.
message to end with. Boom.